Now, in the last video, we discussed about how to export a master copy. That's the highest quality copy of a project that we've completed in Premiere, but there's other different types of devices, and for the web and other things that we might want to also export versions of the project for. So let's go ahead and click this and get back into Media Encoder. And we are going to export the entire sequence. Always need to check that to make sure that you're not spending time exporting only part when you intend to export the entire project. Now, instead of choosing match sequence settings, which is what you would do as we discussed before when we're exporting a high quality master, this time we want to make some different choices that allow us to export for different situations such as the internet or certain devices. Now, we have a whole bunch of choices here. We could put out anything from an animated GIF project, which might be a little crazy there, but a H.264 for Blu-ray, MPEG-2 for Blu-ray, QuickTime movie. We could export just the audio portion if we wanted to. What we're going to do here, though, is stick just with H.264, and you'll see this is a very widely used format at this point. Again, this is the output name. Let's just briefly change this so we don't make any mistakes here. And again, we'll just output to the desktop, and we'll call this Bold Eagle Web. Okay, so under these presets at H.264, we have a whole bunch more choices. Now you can see we could go ahead and export for 3GPP, for Amazon Kindle, for Android phones at different resolutions. It's just a boatload of them. Apple TV and iPhone. Adobe is very comprehensive. Here's Barnes & Noble's tablet. And then other HD versions that are non-device related, but can also be used out on the internet. There's also presets for Vimeo and also for YouTube. Now, the advantage of encoding here is that you get to control it. If you set these up for Vimeo, then when you upload this to Vimeo, Vimeo doesn't have to re-encode it for you and use their own settings. And the same is true with YouTube. So for our particular project, if we look at the basics of what our project is, it would be a 1920 by 1080, a 1280 by 720 project here at 23,976 frames per second. And what we're going to do here is go ahead and output that for YouTube. So let's go down here for the YouTube settings. And here's what we would be choosing here. This is YouTube 720p 23976. Okay, and we can come down here, and if we wanted to, we could change some of these parameters, but the preset is setting all of this for us properly. Adobe has done a very good job of choosing very specific and very competent presets to make the highest quality. Now here's a thing that we want to get into a little bit here. It's defaulting to what is essentially the highest quality, which is a variable bitrate 2-pass encoding. But just to take a look at this, constant bitrate chooses exactly what it says as a constant bitrate or data flow for that project, but it doesn't vary. It just sticks to that one bitrate. It's a much faster encode, but in some ways can lack in quality because the video is not being analyzed, it's being forced into that data rate. The variable bitrate, however, looks at the video and decides what the variance of the data rate of the project should be to compensate for the type of video. If there's a lot of motion, if there's a lot of effects or other things on it, the variable bitrate will end up giving it a higher quality, as the data rate will rise and fall based on the demands of the type of video that is being encoded. And the variable bitrate 2-pass, the first pass that goes through is more of an examination pass. That's where encoder takes a look at the video the first time and sort of decides, pre-decides what the data rate should be, and then the second pass it actually applies those appropriate data rates. So it takes much longer to do a two-pass encoding, but it also creates a very high quality product because of the examination pass that's done before the data rate is then applied to the project. So anyway, when we get done with that, we can do the exact same thing here. It's also, here's an estimated file size here that we're going to output it to. That's not guaranteed, and that will also vary depending on what settings you choose. But again, we could send it out here to the queue, which will send it to the background and take longer to render, but will then give us other options as far as working. Or we can go directly to export immediately, which will put the full CPU, GPU, and RAM on rendering the project. You will not be able to do any further work in Premiere while this is going on, but it will result in the fastest and highest quality export of your project.